Let's talk about something that is happening right now across Japan's entire service industry, and it is not pretty. Workers are burning out. Teachers are quitting. Convenience store staff are having mental breakdowns. Hotel employees are leaving jobs they trained years for. And the thing quietly sitting at the center of all of this is a review culture and a customer service standard so extreme that it has stopped being about quality and started being about control. This video is specifically for anyone working in a service role with Japanese customers, especially foreign online tutors who are expected to perform emotional labor at a level that was never part of the job description and is definitely not reflected in the pay. First, let's understand the foundation. Japan has a service standard that the rest of the world genuinely admires from the outside. When you visit Japan as a tourist, the politeness, the attention to detail, and the sense that every customer is being treated like the most important person in the room feels incredible. But here's the part that does not make it into the travel blogs. That standard is not maintained because everyone is naturally kind and happy to serve. In many cases, it is maintained through fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of standing out. Fear of being the person whose mistake or whose bad day becomes a public review that damages not just themselves, but their entire workplace. Japanese service workers are not performing warmth because they feel it. Many of them are performing it because the social and professional consequences of not performing it are severe. That is a critical difference, and understanding it changes everything about how you interpret Japanese customer behavior, especially when you are a foreign tutor sitting on the other side of a screen. Here is something that is important to say plainly. The harmony that you observe in Japanese public life, the politeness, the orderly behavior, the reluctance to cause conflict, is largely built on social pressure rather than genuine warmth toward others. Japanese society has extremely strong norms around not standing out, not causing problems, and not embarrassing yourself or your group in public. These norms are taught from childhood and reinforced constantly through school, work, and community life. The result is a surface level of smooth, conflict-free interaction that can look like kindness, but is often closer to managed restraint. People are not necessarily being nice to each other because they feel affectionate. They are being careful because the judgment of others, both face-to-face and online, is a real and constant social threat in Japanese culture. This matters enormously for foreign service providers because that same system of social pressure does not always extend to outsiders in the same way. Within Japanese society, the harmony norm applies because everyone is operating under the same rules and the same fear of judgment. But foreigners exist outside that system. A Japanese person interacting with a foreign tutor online is not bound by the same social obligations they would feel toward a Japanese service provider. The cultural script that usually governs polite behavior in a service interaction gets loosened, and what sometimes replaces it is a freedom to be more demanding, more critical, and less considerate than they would ever dare to be with someone from their own community. This is not a universal rule. Many Japanese students are respectful and genuinely lovely to work with, but it is a real pattern that foreign tutors encounter often enough that it deserves to be named honestly. Now, let's talk about the mental health data, because this is not just a feeling, it is documented. Studies and surveys conducted within Japan's service industry have consistently shown elevated rates of emotional exhaustion, anxiety, and what researchers call customer harassment, a term that in Japan refers to the specific type of abuse that comes from customers who use the service relationship as a justification for unreasonable demands, verbal aggression, or repeated complaints. Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare has acknowledged customer harassment as a workplace problem serious enough to require dedicated policy responses. Surveys of retail and hospitality workers have found that significant percentages report experiencing customer behavior that negatively affected their mental health, their sleep, and their ability to continue working. Among younger workers especially, customer-facing roles are increasingly being avoided precisely because of the emotional cost involved. For online tutors, the dynamic is slightly different, but the core problem is the same. You are a service provider operating in a system where the customer holds almost all of the power. They can rate you, comment on you publicly, stop booking you, and in some cases report you to the platform, all with minimal accountability and often with no requirement to be accurate or fair. You, on the other hand, are measured constantly, ranked publicly, and financially impacted by every interaction. The power imbalance is built into the structure of the platform, and there is no policy meeting where you get to present your side of the story about why that particular student seemed to arrive already angry and leave a 1-star review for a session that went perfectly well by any objective measure. Here is the part that needs to be said very directly. Some students are not okay. Not in a general sense, but in a specific, observable, this person has something going on that is not about English sense. Online tutoring platforms are accessible to everyone, and everyone includes people who are going through genuine mental health struggles, people who have patterns of relating to others that are difficult and sometimes harmful, and people who have spent so long in high-pressure environments that their baseline for normal interaction has shifted into something that most people would recognize as unreasonable. You will meet students who seem to be taking out accumulated frustration on their lesson. You will meet students who hold you responsible for their mood before the class has even properly started. You will meet students whose feedback reflects not the quality of your teaching, but the state of their internal world on that particular day. And you need to understand, clearly, it is not your job to fix any of that. You are an English tutor. Your job is to conduct the lesson, communicate clearly, and deliver the service that was promised. Your job is not to absorb someone else's emotional overflow. Your job is not to perform enough warmth and patience to soothe a student who arrived dysregulated, meaning their emotional state was already unstable before they ever clicked join. Your job is not to heal, rescue, or endlessly accommodate people who are using the lesson as a substitute for the support they actually need. This sounds obvious when it is written down plainly. But in practice, in the middle of a session where a student is being cold, critical, or subtly hostile, the pressure of the rating system pushes many tutors toward exactly that kind of emotional labor, bending themselves to manage a situation that is genuinely not their responsibility. The practical approach for foreign tutors dealing with this reality is not complicated, but it does require a certain hardness that takes time to develop. First, stop personalizing behavior that is not personal. A student who arrives irritable and leaves a low rating is telling you about their day, their stress level, and possibly their general pattern of relating to service providers, not about the actual quality of your teaching. Second, recognize the warning signs of a session that is going nowhere good and use your cancellation options before the damage happens rather than after. The discomfort of ending a session early is smaller than the damage of a retaliatory review. Third, maintain a mental separation between students who engage with you genuinely and students who are clearly there for something other than English practice. The first group deserves your energy. The second group deserves your professionalism and nothing more. Fourth, and this is specifically for foreign tutors working with Japanese students, do not exhaust yourself trying to perform the level of deference that Japanese service culture technically demands. You are not Japanese. You were not raised in that system. You cannot and should not try to replicate a standard that even Japanese service workers are increasingly burning out trying to maintain. Bring your genuine self to the lesson, be professional, be prepared, be kind in the way that comes naturally to you. And let that be enough. The students who are right for you will respond to that. The students who need you to perform a specific type of extreme deference to feel satisfied are probably not going to be satisfied by you regardless of how hard you try, because what they are actually looking for is a mirror of the control structure they are used to in Japan, and that is not something a foreign tutor from a different cultural background can or should provide. The review economy in Japan is genuinely damaging people across every service sector. Convenience store workers, hotel staff, restaurant servers, teachers, and online tutors are all navigating a system that places the customer's emotional state above the worker's dignity, well-being, and reasonable professional limits. Understanding the system for what it actually is, a structure built on fear and social pressure rather than genuine mutual respect, protects you from the worst of its effects. You are not broken when a session goes badly. You are not failing when a student leaves unhappy. You are a professional doing a real job in an imperfect system. Keep that perspective, protect your energy, and do not let someone else's bad day become your mental health crisis. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for Japanese and Korean language learning content, fun ESL class stories, sometimes even the toxic ones, plus videos about pets, plants, and anything interesting I discover in my daily life.